Check, check. Ooh. How's everybody doing this morning? Good? Alright, cold, it is cold. I was hoping for snow, but it looks like we're going to get it now. Lafon said no, so we're going to get it. So, I'll go with him. Well, let me put this over here. Alright, so, just bear with me today, because, you know, like we said, it was a spur of the moment ordeal when Nathan's sick, you know, that happens. So, I was planning on kind of pulling some stuff that I've done with the students in the past, and I started going through some stuff, and I was like, I'm not real sure if this is, you know, fitting for today, and so I just said no. So I didn't go to bed till really late this morning. This morning, and so just bear with me here. So beginning. I think it's, Monday morning, we'll be starting a new year, and it wouldn't be right if we didn't do a New Year's sermon. So this is what we've done. So we're going to do a typical run-of-the-mill, hand raise, who has all have a New Year's resolution ready to go. Like you're going to do this next year. Anybody, show of hands, got a resolution going? Got a couple. Good. I was scared there was going to be none. So usually, the formality of New Resolution usually goes, I can't believe it's been a year since I've become a better person. So, you know, usually from, starting from good, I'm going to be a better person throughout the next year. Or some resolutions is I'm going to stop lying to myself and actually make lifestyle changes to my life. Some is to have a to-do list for the first week of January, like, starting a to-do list. Or I'm going to print my meals. I'm going to have this very organized calendar for my family. I'm going to be a better organized person for this year. Or the next one is your typical every year statement. I'm going to work out every day. Every single day. I'm going to wake up. I'm going to hit the gym hard. I'm going to get a new membership. And usually that's how it goes. And so the next one usually goes like this. My resolution for 2018 is to accomplish the goal of 2017, which should have been done in 2016 because I promised them in 2015. So that's the process of a resolution. And so that's how it is for me, because I'll always start a resolution and I'm like, next year. I'll definitely do it next year. And so, doing some Googling about research of statistically, why do people start resolutions and never finish them? Or at all, doesn't even start a new resolution, because psychologists got together and they made this survey. And the reason why some people that doesn't start a new resolution, which a lot of you do not start a resolution, is because it typically stems from fear. Fear of not finishing what you start. That is a big fear. A lot of people they usually don't want to start things, so they just don't start a resolution. And that's easy. And so many of us fear making resolutions or goals because we fear we fail and not finish. That's a typical response. I've been there. There's some things where, like, for example, me and Cheryl are about to move into a house. The whole house is done except one room, the bathroom. I just do not want to start on it because it's a lot of trimming, a lot of stuff going around, and I literally have all the paint, pan, everything sitting in the kitchen, in the bathroom, and everything else in the house is pretty much done. But I just don't want to start it because it's a process. So you will never finish something you don't start. And so, what do you need to start? What have you been putting off? What have you left undone? Usually it goes like this. Fit and Healthy, which is your gym membership. A lot of gyms usually do a $15 or $5 one of the month New Year's Eve or New Year's Day or on January month. The payments are really low, so everybody just rush into the gym. And so your normal gym members are like, look at this. Oh my goodness. Dumbbells, weights everywhere. You want to go on a treadmill 5 o'clock in the morning, they're just slap full of people running. Congratulations, they're here. But what usually happens 2 months, 3 months, 4 months down the road? They're not there. They're not there. And so you're putting that off. Some of you, you're in a relationship or a restoration of other relationship. Putting those things off of restoring a relationship with a friend, or trying to heal a marriage, you're putting that off. Typically, that starts to hurt more than hinder. Hurt more than heal. There you go. Sorry. Some of you are wanting a little stronger friendships that push you more to Jesus. These types of New Year's resolutions are typically the ones that we need to actually start and to finish. And so, what's it for you? Because at the end of it all, we all have something. So, just to get a little bit, sad, down the road, so let's fast forward all the way to the end of your life, the end of your lifetime. I sometimes find it helpful to know where I need to start if I know where I want to end. So, this is kind of sad a little bit, but fast forward to the memorial service, and you see yourself in third person point of view, and you see all these people gathered around eating crackers and dip, and they're all talking about you. What do you want them to say about you? Personally, I would like them to say something really nice. I would hate for someone to say, "Oh, that Jacob," And so usually you want them to say something pretty nice about you. So what do you want them to say? What would you hope they would say about you? So in the end, in the answer, you may find where you need to get started, what you may need to be about. And so, what would you want people to say about you when you're gone, or another way to phrase that is what you want your legacy to be? And this is where we're going to get into Moses' life. Moses had a very iconic life in the Old Testament. He done some awesome things. I think for me, when I first heard Moses, I think split the sea. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. And so in Hebrews, God talks about a lot of awesome people. But we're going to dive into Moses' life, where he ends. So we'll be in in Hebrews 11, 24 through 26. That's a new book, by the way. Hebrews 11, 24 through 26. Last year, for the students, we went through pretty sure we went through the whole book of Exodus. And we always get the Ten Commandments, and we got them to act out all the Ten Commandments without saying anything. It's pretty funny. I wish Peyton was up here because there's a frog, and it's pretty funny. So if you ever see Peyton, ask her, "Hey, about the Ten Commandments, do the frog." So, all right, Hebrews 11, 24 through 26. By faith, Moses, when he had grown up, refused to be known as the son of Pharaoh's daughter. He chose to be mistreated along with the people of God rather than to enjoy the fleeting pleasures of sin. 26, it says, he regarded his disgrace for the sake of Christ as of greater value than the treasures of Egypt, because he was looking ahead to his reward. It's a powerful statement. God makes a statement where he's looking ahead to his reward. So this is the ending moment. This is kind of like the end chapter of Moses' life. So this is where Moses ends. But this isn't where he begins. And so we're going to jump to Exodus 3, and this is where we're going to be. We're going to be in Exodus for now. So Hebrews and Exodus. Exodus chapter 3, 11 and 12. If you're keeping notes, if you got a piece of paper, they'll be in the back if you didn't get one. I didn't hole punch it. I totally forgot. I'm so sorry. So if you want it hole punched, we'll figure it out from there. I'm sort of slipping to the side, and we'll get to it. So, Exodus 3, 11 and 12. But Moses said to God, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt? I will be with you." So number one is start where you are. So some of you may not know the whole story of Moses. I'm going to give it to you maybe in 5 minutes roughly. So it's going to help me, and it's going to help you to give you a brief recap. So if you watch a TV show, it says in the next episode or previously, This is the previously of Moses' life. So, Moses was born a Hebrew baby. Israelites were slaves to the Egyptian at the time, and the Israelite population was growing rapidly at a rapid pace. And so, Pharaoh at the time, in order to control the population, he had all baby boys tossed in the Nile River. He killed them. And so, at that point, that was his way of controlling the population. So, mother of Moses places the baby Moses in the basket in the Nile River. So, by God's hand, Moses is received by Pharaoh's daughter. So, she raises Moses for 40 years in the Egyptian culture. Everything from schooling to learning a trade, how they eat, what they eat. So, it's a very different lifestyle from being an Israelite to an Egyptian. And Moses grew up in that Egyptian culture for 40 years. So, after 40 years, Moses is on job site training or on job for Pharaoh, and he sees an Israelite, which is a slave, and an Egyptian, which is a type of guard or a person watching over, making sure everything's going right, and they begin to fight. And so Moses breaks it up, but he kills the Egyptian. He kills him. And he freaks out. He's like, oh, I gotta hide and I gotta go bury the body. And so he hides the body and he thinks, no one saw me, everything's fine. But the very next day, he sees two Israelites fighting. He goes up to them and says, whoa, brothers, what are you doing? Do not fight. So they look at him and they say, who are you to judge? Are you going to kill us like you killed the Egyptian the other day? And Moses was like, well, I better get out of here. I'm about to get in real trouble. So Moses leaves Egypt for 40 years. He skips town and he becomes a shepherd of sheep. So then one day, Moses has this burning bush experience. This is where Moses and God has a conversation. And Moses and God starts having this type of excuse. God says, do this. So God says to Moses, hey, you are going to go back to Egypt. And Moses was like, me? Go back to Egypt? You do realize that I did kill somebody. They're going to kill me. And then God says, oh, also, you're going to go to Pharaoh and say, let my people go. All of them. Now, we tend to hear the story. There's a song that I grew up, it's like, Pharaoh, oh, baby, let my people go. Ooh. Anyways, I learned that in Bible school. And so you hear all of the people. You hear them, Pharaoh, let my people go. This is a population. This is millions of people. You have to remember that Moses, one person, was sent to, God's telling one guy, saying, hey, send all these people away from Egypt. That's you. Moses is like, man. Moses is like, I'm not real sure about that. I don't think you have the right guy. So this is where we end up. This is where we're going to begin our story. This is where we're going to find motivation to get our lives started. So, like I said, number one, start where you are. I'm going to read Exodus 3:11 and 12 again, and it says, but Moses said to God, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt? And God said, I will be with you. And that's such a huge statement when God says, I will be with you. Because it doesn't matter where you are when you know who you're with. It doesn't matter where you are when you know who you're with. And if you're going through some rough times in your life, just remember, God is going to be with you. He's not going to leave you. He's always going to be there beside you no matter what. Just a couple things to list, just to give you some reminders of your life is like, maybe if there's some past mistakes in your life that you feel unworthy, God's going to be with you through those times. Financially, if you can't see a way out of this year going into the new year, and you just feel lost and no one's here with you, God's with you. You just have to allow Him to move through this time. Facing some big decisions that you're confused about on which way to go. I know for me, teaching the students and getting out of high school and to college and being adequately fit to prepare their lives to spread the gospel to others, because they're not in youth anymore. When they graduate, they're kicked out the bird's nest and they're either going to fly or fight. flower hit the ground. And so my job is for them to hopefully fly. And so that's important for the students to remember that God's going to be with you. And they have to be trained up with that. And so, remember, God says, I will be with you no matter what. So, Moses answered in Exodus 4, 1 and 2. Moses answered, what if they don't believe me or listen to me and say, the Lord did not appear to you? Well, then the Lord said to him, what is that in your hand? And Moses replied, a staff. And so, it's funny when I read this, it's that Moses is like, what if they don't believe me? The Lord didn't appear to you. Well, what if they don't believe me? And God's like, man, what's that in your hand? He's like, a staff. And number 2, it says, use what you have. Number 2, use what you have. Moses didn't come to this burning bush and realize God's there, like, oh, let me go back and get my all-powerful staff real quick. Maybe God will really like this staff, No. What was Moses? He was a shepherd. He tended his sheep. That was his job for 40 years. That was his primary goal. That was his job. He tended the sheep, so he had that staff. And so, why did Moses have that staff? Like I just said, he was tending to the sheep. So, God uses this staff, takes the ordinary, and makes it extraordinary. Typically, like I said, he parts the Red Sea, and he delivers the enemies from them. Also, Moses takes the staff, throws it on the ground, changes it to a snake, and God puts it back as a staff. He takes the ordinary and makes it extraordinary. And so maybe you feel like this. Maybe there's some things in your life that are you think that it's just ordinary. For me, I'm not really good at cooking, but some people are extremely good at making homemade lasagnas. That awesome goodness, 7-6 layers of cheesy pasta. Banging, really good lasagna. I can't do that. That's an ordinary thing. I'll get back to extraordinary. Pause on the lasagna. Next thing is that maybe you're just really good with money. Like you're good at keeping up with your money, your finances. That's something that's a really good thing. Maybe in your life you think it's ordinary. Maybe you're good at playing guitar or playing a musical instrument. You think to you that's ordinary. Knitting, you think that's a really ordinary thing to sit back and I just want to knit, watch TV, Some people actually like to run or work out. You think that is an ordinary thing to do. But it can be an extraordinary thing. For example, if you make a really good banging lasagna, guess what? You can bring it to your cooking skills to go feed someone. If someone's in church that are sick, guess what? You can call them up and say, hey, I know you're not feeling well. We can prepare some meals for you. That is an easy way. That's an easy way to make your ordinary gift an extraordinary one. I didn't mention the teacher, but there's a lot of teachers out here that doesn't know what to do with their job skill. They just go and teach to some students that have snotty noses and backtalk them. Guess what? You do that, you can lead a small group. It's that easy. It's that easy. You just got to let God use your talents, use your gifts. Back to guitar, musical instruments. There's some students that are they really don't know, they didn't know what do I do with my hands? I know I can play an instrument, but I know they're in band and they play trumpets and trombones and stuff, but I never really picked up a bass guitar or drums and something, and then all of a sudden it's like, wow, I can do this. You could use those talents, ordinary gifts, for extraordinary. Use them for the benefiting of building up God's kingdom. And so, no matter how slow you're still, no matter how slow you go, you're still lapping everybody on the couch. You got to start. You got to get started. Get going. Go. Just do it. God says right here in Exodus 4, 10 through 12, Moses says to God, pardon your servant, Lord. I have never been eloquent, neither in the past, nor since you have spoken to your servant. I am slow of speech and tongue. 4:11, it says, the Lord said to him, who gave human beings their mouths? Who makes them deaf or mute? Who gives them sight or makes them blind? It is not I, the Lord. Now go, I will help you speak, and I will teach what you say. And so Moses is constantly giving excuses after excuses after excuses. Now, doesn't that sound familiar? We tend to give excuses after excuses after excuses. I know I do. I've been putting that bathroom off. That's an excuse. After I'll just get to it and everything else is done. That's excuses, excuses, excuses. Or I'll go to small groups one time. Oh, this came up. Oh, this came up. Oh, this came up. And it's 6-7 weeks in, and you're like, I'm just going to go next small group session. You see, you have to get it started. You have to, once you get the thing started, you get the ball rolling. Moses is trying to give excuses after excuses, and God's like, who gave you their mouth? Who gave you the ability to speak? Who gave you sight? Is it not I, the Lord? Question mark. Like, he's like questioning Moses, like, it's me. Like, let's go. Then he says, just go. I will help you. I will help you lead the way. God is letting you know you're not going by yourself. Number 1, start where you are. 2, use what you have. And number 3 is do what you can. Do what you can. I haven't babysitted a lot, but I have 3 nieces, and now I have one brand new niece. My sister recently had a baby girl. Her name is Josephine Adele Braun, but they're calling her Josie for short. And my mom and dad was up there till January 8th. Hey, mom and dad, if you're watching. And so it's been really neat to see mom and dad hold a newborn baby. And but the sad part is that when that child grows up to like 9 or 10, and a lot of parents in here, when you get a child ready to go to bed, usually it's automatically like, you tell me bed, I'm like, can I have a drink? I have to go to the bathroom, I have to pee. I'm not tired, I'm hungry, I'm scared of the dark, I need my blanket, my pajamas are itchy, I need a Band-Aid, I got a boo-boo, which there's no boo-boo there. Can you read me another book? Can we go to the moon? Will you sing me a song? Will you rub my back? How come you get to stay up and not me? That's not fair. Will you sing me a song? Like, can I sleep with my fire truck? You know, you get these things automatically when you tell a child to do something, it's like, I'm not going to bed, no. And so you sense this pattern with God and Moses. Moses is laying out after excuses and excuses, and like I just said, God just says to go. And so for some of you, God needs to take his foot and kick you right in the behind to get you moving in 2018 and get you started, because you're never going to finish what you start. And so today is that day. Let God use you. What you have is extraordinary. It's extraordinary. If you think you have an ordinary gift, if it's actually just really good at talking to someone, use that. There's some people that are like really introverted, like, man, I'm not talking to no one. No. There's some people like, how are you doing today? That's great. Let's sit down and talk 25 minutes. And you're like, oh, I can't be like that. Guess what? That's okay. Because you have something that person does not have. Ordinary gifts make it extraordinary for the kingdom of God. And so God uses and God teaches Moses along this journey. He just doesn't toss him to the side and just say, all right, go. You're going to be back in a couple of years, so I'm not going to teach you anything. By the way, that staff, you can just take it with you. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do anything with that. No, God uses this. God uses. So start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can. You be you, and let God be God. Don't get in the way. Don't let your distractions and your resolutions get in the way. No, get started. Once you start something, allow someone to help you through this moment. Like, use this ability. Mother Teresa said it. She said, if you can't feed 100 people, then just feed one. Back to the bang lasagna, just feed one person. I recently watched a movie, A Case for Christ. Has anybody seen A Case for Christ? I talked about this, yeah. I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but I'm just going to tell you a brief little thing about it. I might spoil it, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry if I spoil it. So it's good though. Anyways, so this guy is an atheist, and he becomes a Christian through his lifestyle. And so at the end, he ends up writing a book because he is a kind of a news headliner guy. He writes in the newspapers and stuff. And but he ends up writing a whole book. And in this book, it gets to the New York Times bestseller. and yet it sold 14 million books. And it's about cold hard facts about who Jesus is and what Jesus has done on this life and in his life. That's one person, reached 14 million people. His ordinary gift, thought that it was just, I'm really good at writing newspaper headlines, try to disprove Christianity, finds that it can't be, accepts Christ and says, I'm going to use my ordinary talent and ordinary gift to spread the gospel of good news. He uses ordinary to extraordinary. And so, jumping ahead back to Hebrews 11:24 through 26. That's a really good movie too. I mean, it's phenomenal. I watched it with Shelby and their parents, and Shelby's dad is really he tends to get emotional, and I like to get emotional, but I like to get emotional by myself. And so it's like I'm sitting there, I'm like, I want to cry, but I can't. I want to cry, but I can't. So I'm sure if we're going to watch it tonight with all the students at the lock-in, and I'm pretty sure I'll bawl like a baby anyways. So Hebrews 11:24 through 26. It says, by faith, Moses, when he had grown up, refused to be known as the son of Pharaoh's daughter. He chose to be mistreated along with the people of God, rather, to enjoy the fleeting pleasures of sin. In 26, it says, he regarded disgrace for the sake of Christ as of greater value than the treasures of Egypt, because he was looking ahead to his reward. He was looking ahead. So the next step, focus on that one, not step 28. Don't focus on, man, this is January 1. I said I was going to actually start working out. I'm going to start today. But then maybe like down the road in July, I'll be like, I have really good abs. Oh yeah, no. Like don't think so far ahead, because then you're going to get to week 2. You're like, I'm seeing no progress. I want that. I want what's that there. No, you start at 1, then you start at 2, you start at 3. Don't skip all the way to 28. You start at 1. And so in 24 to 26, Moses is classifying himself. He doesn't want to be a part of the Pharaoh's daughter or all this stuff. And so I'm going to put this in our terms so that we can use these verses. It says, by faith, when you had grown up, refused to be known as, it says, simply a product of your past. And so Moses was the son of Pharaoh's daughter. That was his past. And so by faith, when you had grown up, refused to be known as, insert simply a product of your own past, you chose to be mistreated along with the people of God rather than to enjoy the fleeting pleasures of sin. You regarded disgrace for the sake of Christ as of greater value than the treasures of this world, what this world offers, because you were looking ahead to your reward. You see, as Christians, we tend to, when you accept Christ, you're like, all right, I have Christ in me. I'm on fire. But then you're like, this is going to last forever. But then what happens like week 2 or week 3? You're like, man, I have no clue what to do. I'm so lost. You've took that first step, but then you got to the next week or next, 3rd week or 4th week, and you're lost. You're confused. That's why it's so important and so critical for you to have a church family, to have a church home, to go to small groups where you can dive into these moments of communication with believers and to ask important questions. Important questions that may seem easy to you, may seem hard to you, but in the end, someone's probably thinking the exact same question. And see, it's just all about communication. Communication is key, and it's vital for you to further your relationship with Christ. And so, we only have one shot at 2018, one shot at life. You will never finish something you do not get it started. My bad, nope. Okay, all right, sorry. You will never finish something that you don't get it started. And so, 2018, get it started. Do what Moses did. Moses was kind of timid and shy. In fact, he stuttered a little bit. He didn't want to be the person, the leader of the pack. In fact, he was like, oh, don't choose me. There's a whole lot better, more people out there than me. I killed somebody. You don't want me to go back. No, God chose him. God chose him. God chose you. God chose you to where you are in your life right now. You may think there's no way. No, God did. I promise. God did. Because there's things in your life that you may think you're messed up, that you don't think you have it figured out, you think there's no way that someone can learn from me, guess what? I promise you, they can. They can. And so, when we do these things, start where you are. When we do these things, start where you are. Use what you have, do what you can. We won't only have a 2018 to remember, but we will live a life that leaves a legacy. So, leave a legacy. And so, as we prepare to end, we're going to do things a little differently as we wrap up 2018. We're going to do a form of celebration. Our life of things that we're struggling with. Allow Christ in this moment to move you, to allow Him to take what you think you don't have and use this to what you will have, because ordinary gifts are extraordinary. Let's pray.